Well, this is my first Reason Foundation dinner, and I hope it is not my last. I am proud to say, as a Democrat, that I am also proud to be here tonight as a part of the conspiracy of free thought. So, thank you for enjoying it. I want to give a personal thanks to my former colleagues, Matt Fong, Bill Jones, who joined me this summer with George Pasatino in creating the roadmap to reform document that many of you see, bipartisan effort that I think we move our great state forward. I want to change the tempo a bit of the evening. We've been so serious in our dialogue and our thought, and I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Larry Elder. And in doing so, I thought I would do it more of a spoof, because you know you have his vitae and your materials here tonight, and I thought it would be nice to have a little insight to who Larry Elder really is. And those of us who know him as his friend, and I, of course, had to cleanse some of the more personal stories. So I have really given the public version tonight of Larry Elder. But let me start with the speculation of how does a kid who grows up in South Central Los Angeles, surrounded by one of the Democratic hotbeds of our state, with a mother who's a Democrat, a father who's a Republican, become a libertarian? And I'm sure many of you have asked yourself that question. Well, it's legitimate. And it started at a very early age. So I want to take the time capsule back to the time when Larry Elder was 7 years old. Now, this is a true story. I haven't made this up. We're going to move back to a period in which Larry Elder, like any other child in the state, in this country, really wanted to buy a bike. But he didn't have the money to do so. So he saw an ad in a magazine, and it said, if you sell enough boxes of Christmas cards, we'll send you a brand new bicycle, and you will even get to choose the kind and the color. Well, this was a really an attractive offer that Larry just could not turn down. So he was very excited to read about this. He sent in the coupon. He got the Christmas cards back in the mail, and he began to enthusiastically sell his boxes of Christmas cards to everyone he knew, his friends, his relatives, members of the church groups he belonged to, his parents' friends, and he finally hit a brick wall. He couldn't sell any more Christmas cards, and he was far short of the goal that he had to achieve to get his bicycle. Well, his father took pity on him, and he said, Larry, you deserve this bicycle. I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. You give me the rest of the Christmas cards, I'll give you a check for the difference. You can go get that bicycle, but then you have to promise me that you're going to work to sell the rest of these Christmas cards. Well, now, this was Larry's first display of legal skills. You know, many of you may know that he's a lawyer. Well, when he recognized this opportunity for what it really was, he immediately seized it, and he said yes. And he became the proud owner of his first set of wheels. And once he became a man about town on his own set of wheels, he never sold another single Christmas card. And you know, those Christmas cards are still sitting in the closet in his family's home. So I hope that all of you will feel compassion on Larry tonight and make him an honest man and buy the remaining Christmas cards from Larry Elder. Because this is a score we really need to settle here with his parents who had trust in him. But there was a message here for Larry coming out of this Christmas card situation. And that was that you should never, ever give an incentive and reward the incentive until the work is performed. So that was the beginning of Larry Elder's role as a libertarian. Now, this message became even clearer to Larry in the fact that his parents were entrepreneurs. I don't know how many of you know that his father held 3 jobs, and while he was doing that, he became the owner of a restaurant. And his father and mother were very involved in the restaurant. And they were very concerned that they were committing their money, risking their hard work and effort to give jobs to others and to hopefully support their own family. So every night at the dinner table, Larry heard the discussions of how minimum wage increases, how governmental interference was impacting the bottom line of his parents' businesses. And to him, this wasn't an academic discussion. To him, this was his mom and father's home restaurant. To him, it was his survival. And so he realized right away that the message of working hard and earning a living could be subverted by a government that was too hyperactive in its vigilance. And so he picked up that message and he carries it on the air if you've listened to him today. But his message from his father and mother was even clearer, that the sky's the limit, that there's no limit on opportunity, and that the world really is not black and white. And Larry grew up in a world in which many of his neighbors saw the world in terms of race, but his parents never did. His parents presented the world to Larry as a kaleidoscope that was bursting forth in terms of opportunities. And that's what you hear when you listen to Larry Elder, when you listen to him on his radio show. Larry, we respect who you are. We respect your mother, who is known as the Chief Justice. And if you haven't heard him talk with his mother on Friday talk show, I challenge you to listen to that dialogue, because it says it all. Anyone who respects his mother as he does, anyone who gets over 1,000 emails a day, 1,000 a day, 99% of them positive, well, you gotta believe that people love his directness, they love his values, they love his commitment to educating people to the importance of the issues that face us here in this great nation of ours. Larry has dedicated himself to being a purveyor of that message, a message which many of you, I think, in this room tonight share. And we want to keep his energies high. So I want all of you to dedicate yourself in the months ahead to really gifting Larry with what he likes best. And I'm going to tell you what that is. It's sunflower seeds and it's beef jerky. So I'm hoping that as you see Larry driving around town in his black T-Bird, that you realize that even Larry Elder can be persuaded by the commercialism of our society. But Larry Elder is indeed a messenger for all of us. It's my pleasure to introduce Larry Elder.
Appreciate the introduction. Mandy Klossner asked me to make sure that I said nothing that was unnecessarily divisive, offensive, or profane. So this concludes my prepared remarks. I've often been asked how I got into the talk radio business, and I must tell you it was quite by accident. I was at the time working in Cleveland, and I was running a small business, and I was writing op-ed pieces for a local newspaper, and every now and then they get published. And I wrote something about a limited government, maximum personal freedom responsibility. I wrote about my opposition to government-imposed anti-discrimination laws, that racism no longer was the #1 problem facing this country, facing the black community. So I get a phone call from a programming director of a local talk station, and he said, "I read your article, and I'd like you to come on and discuss it with my host." I must tell you, I never listened to talk radio. Didn't know who the host was, although I later found out he'd been in Cleveland for some 30 years. I was only there 17 years, didn't know who he was. And I went on, and for an hour I was called a series of names, which I will come to in a moment. And I drive back to my office, and I said, what a god-awful waste of time that was. The station manager calls me. He says, "I heard you." I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Oh, funny. You took positions, you defended them effectively. With a good voice. Have you ever thought about doing talk radio?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, look, my guy's going on vacation next week. Would you mind sitting in for him?" I said, "Well, it's very flattering, but no thank you." "No thank you? Why?" I said, "Well, I don't like yelling, and I don't like being yelled at." He said, "Look, I've been doing this 20 years. Rarely have I seen a combination of qualities I just now mentioned. Are you married?" At the time I was. He said, "Go home to your wife, kick it around, and then call me tomorrow. Let me know what you think." So I went home, and I talked it over with my then wife, Cindy, and I told her what he said. She said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, I think of talk radio as shallow, glib, and stupid." She said, "It is. You'd be good at it."